Greetings, PlayStationites, and welcome to another episode of Access. We're calling this one 73. Coming up this week, we head to Boston to meet BioShock Infinite developer Irrational Games, score all the bullseyes at this Tomb Raider survival camp, and round up all the latest news in PlayStation Briefing. Before all that, however, keep any mythological pets from ancient Greece you might have safely indoors. Kratos is back in our Game of the Week, God of War Ascension.
At the end of God of War 3, it wasn't entirely clear where Kratos could go next. He'd worked his way down a list of Olympian gods with a murder stick, killing everyone in the game, including himself, and leaving any future adventures to contend with the small matter of him being dead.
God of War Ascension neatly sidesteps the issue by being in the past, a place where there are still loads of people to tear into, and Kratos doesn't have an enormous sword through his abdomen. At this point, Special K is still in service to the original God of War Ares, although the game's major plot thrust involves our furious hero laying the groundwork for his eventual rebellion. Typically, this means roaring a lot, kicking dogs into bigger dogs, and killing loads of people, chiefly the three Furies of Greek myth who take a seriously dim view of breaking blood oaths and begin the game by showing Kratos just how dim and how serious. The amazing thing about the God of War games is that they're built around a character who's completely unsympathetic in almost every way. He's pitiless, selfish, and if you meet him, you're guaranteed to be dead within minutes.
Glory be to Olympus! I am free!
Just liberated from prison? Dead.
The offerings will please the Oracle this time.
No! Help me! Someone please help me!
Dead. What's amazing is that none of this stops the game from being really good fun, because God of War has never been about character or plot so much as about awesome combat and brutal finishing moves. And it still has these in abundance. Kratos' main weapon is still the Blades of Chaos, which give the game its distinctively smooth and destructive flow, but secondary spears, swords and hammers can now be picked up and worked into his combos. Add to this different elemental power-ups, a new grapple system that can fling enemies across the screen, and a gut-troubling lineup of executions that mostly involve killing big animals with bits of themselves, and it's clear that Ascension single player is as big as ever. But it doesn't stop there. For the first time, the series also has online multiplayer, so you can wrench, stomp, and disembowel human opponents as well as AI goatmen. The combat here is redesigned around parries, dodges, and rechargeable specials to give a greater balance, with objective-based battles raging across multi-layered stages. The best bit? Using the epically scaled interactive features of each level, like possessing a giant gorgon to turn enemies to stone, or tearing the big, one-eyed face of Polyphemus in two.
And that sums up God of War Ascension. It's huge, violent, and brilliantly playable. It's out on the 15th of March, and we recommend it more than staying in Kratos' good books.
Time for that bit where we do interviews and call it news now. It's your PlayStation Briefing. With Star Trek Into Darkness shooting towards UK cinemas very soon, we took the opportunity to dig up the latest info on the game, also called Star Trek, by chatting to the Senior Vice President of Paramount, Brian Miller, in the dark somewhere in London's Science Museum.
We've had a lot of conversations and a lot of late nights making sure that we were honoring not only what we've done with the reboot, but what Gene Roddenberry did with the entire franchise.
More importantly, Brian, which ship from the Star Trek universe would you serve on?
You gotta serve on the Enterprise. She is the biggest, baddest, coolest ship of them all. I wouldn't want to be on any other ship.
Thanks, Brian, but the correct answer is actually the Defiance from Deep Space Nine. Ditching the final frontier for a grimly lit fantasy wilderness aptly named the Shadowlands, we recently flew to Berlin to check out the Dark-Eye Demonicon, a game based on the popular tabletop RPG, but now all about clobbering things with fire. We spoke to the chaps from Numina Studios to learn more.
Demonicon takes place in the Shadowlands, and the Shadowlands have for years been plagued by a demonic curse.
You have this coldness or fear that's lurking behind all this. I hope you're not too afraid of spiders.
Don't worry, Mario. I'll just make sure I've got an extra big slipper handy. That's all for briefing this week. We'll be back with more news next time. Pulling awesome out of PS3's cybernetic ether now, it's the week's best from On The Store. First of all, can we just say well done, Japanese role-playing games, for being brilliant again, and especially well done to Tales of Grace's F, for A, being a game about colour and numbers instead of murdering and brown, and B, for being out on the PlayStation Store today. And you really should download it. Tales is full of dragons, epic tactical battles and 3-foot pigtails, and if you're not sold on that, then there's really no hope for you. Or you could hop over to the other end of the cutesy spectrum to really not cute at all, which is where Army of Two the Devil's Cartel lives, with its noise and its bullet-chugging co-op and its noise. The playable demo is out today, so you can try your hand at shooting all of Mexico with the help of an online friend. Plus, it runs on the Frostbite 2 engine. Excellent news for fans of dirty cameras and lens flare. Download it today. We finish our online roundup with something for PS Vita owners, namely Ace Rally Sim WRC3, which looks every bit as sexy as its home console counterpart and features everything you'd expect from a full-fat racer. So cars with Kardashian levels of curviness, lots of mud, and belting really, really fast around remote tracks in Europe. It's available today, so go get yourself some handheld automotive action. That's all from the store for now. We'll be back with more Online Wonder next week. Welcome to A Field Somewhere, the venue for this week's bonus level where we went to learn all about how to be a survivor. Think Tomb Raider, not Destiny's Child.
So I'm just about to go on a survival course and basically learn how to be like Lara Croft. It's an extremely cold day, but I don't think that's stopped Lara in the past, so I'm just going to push on and learn what I can.
The first step on our journey towards Laradom? Do a zip line from really high up. In fact, do lots of stuff from really high up. Next up was archery.
Does anybody know what these are called just here?
Me, arrows! An exquisitely edited shot. Final order of the day was creating fire using only flint, cotton wool and newspaper. Ingredients we'll be making doubly sure we carry with us whenever we trek through a cold field from now on.
So that's it for my survival day. I've had lots of fun and I've learned lots of survival tips. But I think realistically, if I was on the same island as Lara, I'd probably be dead under a rock within 10 minutes.
A massive thanks to Square Enix for organising the day and for making us feel like proper adventurers. Although if you'd prefer to twang arrows from the comfort of your living room, then don't forget Tomb Raider is out on PS3 right now. Greetings from the scorching tropical paradise of Boston, Massachusetts, where we recently braved not really that hot temperatures to bring you this week's Access All Areas, which comes direct from the offices of Irrational Games, or BioShock Infinite Mission Control as we like to call it. After a tour of the studio, we sat down with Irrational co-founder and creative director Ken Levine for a chat about the massive changes undergone by BioShock Infinite over the course of development.
It was much more like BioShock 1, like these sort of tighter corridors, and you capture an occasional glimpse of sky, and you were a silent protagonist by yourself, and we just kept evolving and evolving and evolving it, and we kept throwing away, sort of moving away from our comfort zone, moving away. Then one day I was like, what if you were with somebody? What if you weren't silent? What the feel, the area, it was felt airy and open, and how would we achieve feelings of dread and tension in that space?
When we first started making attempts at what does Columbia look like, we were going back to the same color palette and the same like dark and stormy and really kind of claustrophobic spaces that we were building in Rapture. And you take a step back from that and you realize that we're just building Rapture again, but we're really not pushing this idea far enough. Like if you're in the sky, like let's make it in the sky. Let's take the clouds away. Let's have this bright sunny daylight. Let's just do the polar opposite of what we're doing in Rapture and see where that leads us.
I think if you're not afraid of failing, then you become complacent and you tend to not take risks at all, and you just do what's safe, and what's safe isn't interesting to us. Something that scares us to death, that's what we want to work on.
I remember really struggling with the visual, all of us struggling with the visual, and I went for a run one day, and it was like in June, and it was one of those beautiful like New England summer days. And I remember looking at this mailbox and seeing the sun play along the mailbox. So I actually took out my iPhone, I was on a run, and I filmed the play of the light on the mailbox. which is, weird and nerdy, but I did. And I'm sure if the owners of the house saw me, they probably would have come out with a shotgun. And then I started thinking about Colombia as America, not as it ever really was, but as sort of politicians remember it to be in their heads or think it was. It's the ideal 4th of July picnic. That's what the city looks like. And everybody sort of, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And we sort of started working from there.
A massive thanks to Ken, Sean and Drew, and everyone at Irrational and 2K. Let's have one last shot of Rob looking sad in the cold. Cheer up! BioShock Infinite is out on March the 26th, and we'll have plenty more on the game before then. Before we go, we'll leave you with the surprising news that Kratos has decided to hang up his blades and open a veterinary practice, which apparently involves getting his blades straight back down again.
Oh, hi, Dr. Kratos. My elephant's got a headache.
Okay, well, let me just make a small incision.
Oh my God, Peter! Yeah, like my dog totally has a toothache, innit?
Okay, open wide. Say ah.
Right there, my goat's got a crick neck. He's been looking up.
Well, that's very simple. We just need to massage it back into place like that.
My Minotaur's got a heart murmur.
Oops, butterfingers.
Watch his legs! He's really... Ah!